And my niece and nephew, every time we go anywhere, like, did you bring the game bag? Did you bring the game bag?
Exactly.
So yeah, we're like, I feel like I'm Mary Poppins walking in every time, and they're so excited about it. If I don't bring it, they're very disappointed because they know that like maybe we're not playing games today. Hello everyone, I'm Ashley.
And I'm Ethan.
And welcome to Game on Board Game, a channel where we talk about board games and do fun games and challenges based on our love for them.
In this video, we thought it'd be interesting to have a little bit more of a discussion about packing games to take with you on a trip or when you're going to see friends or family or something like that, because, I mean, other board gamers out there, if you're anything like us, you're probably bringing way too many games basically everywhere you go, just in the hopes that, like, somebody will want to play, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have a game bag that we usually bring with us. It fits usually like 3 like big-ish games, or like it can fit a bunch of small games. But we'll usually bring like this, and then we end up being like, oh, but we need to bring this too, and then we'll bring like 3 or 4 more totes on top of it.
We should have bought in a bigger bag, is what it comes down to.
Yes, we probably should have.
Yeah, because I know there are other models out there. There are like backpack style ones, or just like full length tote bag style and stuff like that. But yeah,
we're actually planning to go on a trip soon.
Oh yeah.
And so we've been kind of debating like, okay, how do we pack for this trip? And maybe not drive ourselves crazy packing too many games this time, because it's such an easy thing to do. So we're going to be going for about a week. We're going to go to Mystic, Connecticut, which is like a seaport like location, and Salem, Massachusetts, which obviously is very like witchy vibes and, you know, Halloween-y. So we're super excited to go on that trip. We're going to be driving out there, so we won't be flying. Last year we went to Maine and really overpacked. I think we bought 3 game bags.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and then one of the games that we brought was a campaign, and that was, I think, the only one we played the entire time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we were thinking, like, you know,
we learned our lesson from that.
Yes, we're trying to maybe scale back, but also like potentially like zero in on a specific thing.
I remember getting into the place we were staying, and there was this sort of like cabinet of a TV stand, you know, with like a lot of storage area. And we just immediately put all the games on the shelves, and also tried to make sure that they were arranged in like a particular fashion, like they would be on our home shelves and everything. Probably before we unpacked our like toothbrushes and stuff. Even,
yeah. Oh, we totally did.
It was just like seeing them lined up like that. I was like, this was idiotic. What were we thinking? I think it's because we couldn't agree on what games we actually wanted to be playing during this, you know, and. You just don't need that, because obviously you're traveling somewhere. The point of it is to like explore and experience the area and like do like, different activities and see attractions and whatever, you know. So you're not going to spend that much time in the room anyway. Maybe like one game like before bed at night or something.
Sure.
You know. So yeah, we've limited ourselves this time to it has to fit in the one game bag.
Ethan's saying this, but I'm usually the one that ends up bringing 3 more bags.
At least you can admit that you're the problem.
I'll just be like, I won't pack as many clothes, and I'll sneak games into my regular bag.
Okay,
or
that
I
should
won't
be
tell
allowed.
them about that.
Even I'll say that's fine.
All right.
Know, if you're not adding extra bags.
All right.
If you're gonna bring a backpack anyway, and you said, well, instead you have something, I'll just put an extra game in the backpack. That's fine.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're already like making stipulations around this.
We have a problem. Please help. Yeah.
So yeah, we wanted to talk about like 3 kind of options of avenues for just anyone who's kind of going on a trip that could, you know, potentially benefit from trying to sort of zero in on what types of games to bring.
Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that we think about, but it's also generally applicable, you know, like if you are like us and you like to bring games with you on when you travel. And
then also we'll kind of talk about like for this trip, like maybe what would that look like for us.
Yeah. So
the first category that we wanted to talk about is just sort of like small box travel size games, like games that you could easily, you know, fit into if you're, you know, in an airport and you want to play in an airport, or if, you know, you don't know how big the table is, or if you're going to have a table even when you're traveling, or, you know, you're going to be moving around a lot and you don't want to have like big games that take up a ton of like space, or even that are like maybe extremely long, that would take too long to sort of like pull them out and actually get them played.
Yeah, I don't think we're reinventing the wheel with this. It's kind of the most obvious category probably. And in fact, you can go on YouTube and just search for people having, you know, top 10 travel games lists and stuff. It can give you ideas for these sorts of small box ones. We'll talk a little bit about what some go-tos for us would be as well.
Also, like, we camp and we have a little camper, and so like we've brought games like this very frequently.
Camper.
Yeah, very little.
Two-person size camper.
Two-person size camper. Very, very small. When we're in kind of that situation, and like we've done trips where we've gone like across the country and we've gone to multiple states, and we know we're kind of switching up a lot, this is the type of game we would bring. So we would bring like some small box games. So I know like Trails is one that we like to bring.
Also
with us,
feels fitting for when you're on a camping trip. You're probably going to do some hiking or something.
Some roll and writes or like flip and writes might be good. So something like maybe Welcome To or Three Sisters. Button tries are perfect. Yep. They're, really small or wallet size. You can even put them in your purse or your back pocket, really. People
always say button tries are so perfect when you're like going by plane as well, right? Because you can just throw that in your carry-on and like fold your little tray table down once you're like on the plane and load it up and everything, and just play most of these games there. Or your favorite one, Numpsters, really just play it in your hand. You don't even need a Surface to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that one. I just went on a trip a little while ago, like a business trip, and I played Tides and Numpsters and Rove while I was on the trip on the airplane. And actually the people next to me decided to join and play with me, which was great. So these are kind of like, I would say more like the standard like go-to travel games maybe that you would think of. And I think for this trip, like, we're maybe not leaning toward that. Like, maybe we will bring, like, a smaller one or something. But we are staying in 2 places, and we're going to be there for several days at a time. So we're thinking, like, we could maybe go a little bit bigger with our games.
I know this is an approach a lot of people talk about, and I think you kind of hit on, for us, it's camping. If it's the kind of trip where we're not, like, limited by space, then, like, it's just not what we would probably opt for, like, preferentially. So...
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like, we are driving, so we have space in our car, right? So that's another huge aspect. Like if I was flying, that would be much more difficult to bring larger games. The intention of this trip, this is probably not where we're leaning, but this is definitely something that we have done in the past and something that I'm sure we'll kind of keep doing is like, depending on the type of trip we're taking, if we're going to be flying, if we're going to be, somewhere where we're going to be moving around a lot, these are kind of our go-tos.
Yep.
The second category that we wanted to talk about, so that's kind of going like if we were packing and we're trying to fit in the game bag.
You can bring a lot.
You could bring a lot. Yeah, you could bring a lot of small games. We could bring every button try we own probably very easily, and that would be the size of like a small box game.
So that's a way to kind of go wide and give yourself a lot of options to pull from.
Exactly.
When you're on the trip.
The other kind of option, which is sort of what ended up happening last year with us that we overpacked for, is you could bring a campaign game. Yes. So this is something...
go very narrow.
Yes.
And just one game with the intention of playing multiple rounds of it. Right.
Yes. And this is what we like ended up doing last year that was actually extremely fun.
Inadvertently.
Yeah. The benefit of doing a campaign game is like, like, okay, this is what, when I have downtime, this is what I'm going to be playing. This is great if you're going to be in one location, like possibly like we're going to be in 2 locations. We know we have like, we're staying in an Airbnb.
Right.
So we're going to have like a table in each of these. We'll have some space for it.
Being able to leave a campaign game like just set up in between sessions is like, it gets rid of the barrier to entry that, keeps people from coming back to campaign games a lot of the time, right?
Yeah, and I think the thing that we found, because we did do that on our last trip that was like so fun, was our like memories associated. So we went to Maine, and the memories associated with Maine, like I remember things we did in Maine as well, but I also like really strongly remember playing Pandemic Legacy Season 1. I think it actually added like another kind of nice like memory association with a campaign game, especially a game where it's like a legacy game like that, where you're only going to play it once. You're not going to play it again. So, we played through that entire game. I suppose we could rebuy it and we could play it again that way, but we probably won't play that one again. So it was nice because that was sort of the core memory that we have around that game. So it gave us a great memory for our trip, and then also a great memory, I think, for the game itself. Yeah. So one that we've talked about like potentially being an option for this trip is Pandemic Legacy Season 2. Right. So we have started playing that. We played a couple of the different rounds of it, and we just haven't touched it because we've been working on playing our entire collection.
And the last point to kind of touch on with the campaign games, if you know that that's your goal and that's the only game you're bringing, then you don't have anything else like competing for your attention. Like if you're in the mood to game, that's your only choice. So it's a great way to make sure that you do actually get it through a campaign game. Whereas, again, sometimes those can be hard ones to get to the table.
Right. And I think like campaign legacy games like are extremely fun, but sometimes they are very hard to have that like dedicated time for. Theoretically, that would be the way we would go this time though, if we did that. So we would bring a campaign game, maybe a small box game or a button try or something.
Where is this coming from?
I don't know. I
Bending
just
the rules again.
I like to sneak games in, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I was just thinking, you know, we could always bring dumpsters, you know? You could just do that in the car on the ride. You can't play a campaign game in the car. So something that like I really enjoy doing is just being extremely themey. Mm-hmm. So just in general, like when we have a game day, I will just be like, hey, let's play all like horror themed games, or let's play all cute animal themed games, or flippin' rights or something like that. So something that, you know, I think with traveling that you can kind of do is base the games off where you're going. So for us on this trip, we're going to be going to Mystic, Connecticut, where it's like a seaport, and we're going to go to like an aquarium and things. So we could bring like water themed games like Robinson Crusoe. Or we're also into Salem, Massachusetts. So we could say, hey, let's go heavy on like witch themed and like horror themed games. So we could bring Septima or Witchcraft. Or, I mean, we have just honestly half our collection is probably horror themed games because I just love horror themed games so much. I just love like in general, if you're kind of looking for like, hey, I want to do like a fun game day, I think it's fun to do. But also it's kind of fun to bring like, you know, some variety, but have it be like based around the theme of the place you're going. I think then you associate memories from that place also with the games that you played.
Absolutely.
As well. And so it just sort of like embraces the place that you're traveling to.
Now, as an idea, this one is kind of dependent on where you're going.
True.
Right? Not every sort of trip might lend itself thematically to something that you have a lot of examples of in your collection, right? Are you going to Disney World or a theme park, you know, Universal Studios, something like that? There's plenty of IP-based games you could get into. Mm-hmm. There's other places kind of like Salem that maybe, you know, have a haunted house type of legacy to them where you could bring more spooky type of games. If you're going over to Europe, right, obviously there's a lot of like sort of classic Euros.
Yeah, Obsession's like sticking out to me that would be a really fun one to play in Europe.
Yeah.
So I think like we are debating between maybe bringing a campaign game and finishing Pandemic Legacy Season 2, or bringing probably witch-themed games.
Yeah, witch-themed games.
Because we have quite a few that we also like haven't played for our like overall challenge for this year as well.
And we want you guys to help.
Yeah. So in the comments, please let us know, which one do you think we should go with for our trip? We have about 2 weeks before we're going to be leaving for the trip, so you can help us pack. But also, you know, have you done these other options as well? So obviously like the normal kind of small travel games is something that probably a lot of people have tried before, but have you ever tried bringing just a campaign game or basing it around the theme of the place you're going? Mm-hmm. And if so, like, was there one that was your favorite option of those?
Absolutely. Well, so to see what we ended up bringing and how it went, and whether we ended up super overpacking again and didn't follow the rules at all, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos.
Yes, and hopefully this video will maybe help you with future travel decisions. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Game on.
Game on.